The S&P 500 is the backbone of the US stock market. And if you want to build wealth in 2025 and beyond, it's one of the smartest investments you can make. But what exactly is the S&P 500? Why do so many experts recommend it, including Warren Buffett himself? And most importantly, how can you start investing in it, even if you only have $50? That's exactly what we'll cover in this video. Stick with me till the end, because I'll also share the easiest beginner-friendly strategies to start building long-term wealth. The S&P 500 stands for Standard & Poor's 500 Index. It's a list of the 500 largest publicly traded US companies, selected by a committee based on market value, liquidity, and profitability. Think of it as a basket that holds America's most powerful businesses. Tech giants like Apple, Microsoft, and Google, retail leaders like Amazon and Walmart, financial giants like JP Morgan and Bank of America, healthcare companies like Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer. Altogether, these 500 companies represent about 80% of the entire US stock market. So when you invest in the S&P 500, you're not betting on just one company, you're betting on the entire US economy. Here's why investors love the S&P 500. It has historically returned about 10% per year on average over the long run. Yes, the market has ups and downs. In 2008, the financial crisis caused a huge crash. In 2020, COVID triggered one of the fastest drops in history. But in both cases, the S&P 500 not only recovered, it reached new all-time highs. If you had invested $1,000 in the S&P 500 in 2000, today, you'd have more than $6,700. That's the power of compounding returns. There are three main reasons. Diversification. By owning the S&P 500, you're automatically invested in 500 companies across different industries. If one company fails, it hardly affects you. Low cost. Index funds and ETFs that track the S&P 500 often have some of the lowest fees in the investing world. Proven strategy. Even Warren Buffett has said that most people would do best simply buying the S&P 500 and holding it for life. In fact, Buffett made a $1 million bet in 2007 that the S&P 500 would beat hedge funds over 10 years, and he was right. So how do you actually invest in the S&P 500? There are two main ways. Index funds. These are mutual funds that track the S&P 500. For example, Fidelity and Vanguard both offer low-cost index funds that mirror the performance of the index. ETFs, exchange-traded funds. ETFs trade like stocks. Popular ones that track the S&P 500 include SPY, the oldest and most well-known ETF VOO, from Vanguard, famous for low fees. IVV, from iShares, another low-cost option. Thanks to modern brokers in 2025, you don't even need thousands of dollars. Many platforms allow fractional investing, meaning you can start with $10, $20, or $50. Steps to start investing today. Open a brokerage account. Search for VOO or another S&P 500 ETF. Decide how much to invest. Buy shares or fractional shares. That's it. You now own a piece of 500 of America's biggest companies. Of course, investing in the S&P 500 comes with risks. The market doesn't always go straight up. There will be years of decline, sometimes big ones. But here's the key. Over long periods of time, the S&P 500 has always bounced back stronger. The biggest mistake beginners make is panic selling when the market dips. Instead, successful investors stay the course and keep buying regularly, no matter what the market is doing. So what's the best way to invest in the S&P 500? Use a dollar-cost averaging strategy. Invest a fixed amount each month, like $100. Reinvest dividends automatically so your money compounds faster. Focus on the long term. If you're thinking about retirement, the S&P 500 is one of the simplest and safest long-term strategies. Remember, wealth isn't built in days, it's built over decades. To sum it up, the S&P 500 is one of the most reliable wealth-building tools in history. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's available to everyone. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like this video, subscribe to WealthWave, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss future finance guides. And let me know in the comments, will you start investing in the S&P 500 this year?